This is just going to be a rather short video. I just want to get it up here pretty quick because this is a very, very recent discovery at one of the sites along the Pennypack that I have coined the Salutary Inquiries, quote unquote, because of some of the age of some of the stuff that we find dating back, beyond 60,000 years ago in some cases. But this particular piece is possibly more recent than that, probably as they're coming out of the Paleo-Indian period. You're getting more into the woodland Paleo period, but the people that we would say were Proto-Algonquin or Proto Susquehannock, but what we have here is one of the best full pieces that we've ever found or stumbled across. Now, this is something called a hair pipe. It's a type of bead. What makes this particular one that we found extremely fascinating is, at first glance, you would think it was clay. But after thoroughly examining it, it seems to be a soapstone or a softer limestone. It's got the coloration of a chert, but it's a lot softer, more porous than the chert is, and it's definitely something they were able to put a precision hole all the way through. Now, what astounded me about this piece is there is symbolic glyphs on the one side. And why this is fascinating is it goes back to this argument of language. Well, we automatically want to say Native Americans didn't have a written language. This is probably not true. You have to understand the Meso-American culture. If we go Chakotay, the mound cities, probably a lot of Mayan influence there, probably an extended, far off strong point for the Mayans. Their cultures just were too similar, and their end and downfall came at too close to the same time, about 1000 AD. The Mayans in this group, this city, this enormous city. Now, this city out in the Mississippi Valley, this city and these mounds and these centers, Chakotay was literally, or Chakotay, or however you want to pronounce it, is definitely got the origins of a Mayan pronunciation, and there's a lot of effigies in these mounds found that were made out of high-grade coppers and silvers that resembled the serpent god, Teotihuacan, the serpent, the feathered serpent god. The Aztecs and the Mayans before them were accustomed to worshiping. So you see a lot of these same traditions with the mounds and the pyramid type structure, and definitely the mound city out in the Mississippi Valley. You'll find artifacts like this, these pipestone hair beads. But what's so interesting is I did enhance the photos a bit and put some filtered ones up. The one side of the pipe bead, or the hair pipe as they're known, because the thought is you could pull this out of your hair and use it as a small pipe. It has distinguishable characters on the back, separate glyphs or symbolic phonaic symbols, and this was a unique, identifying, valuable piece. And we say a lot of these sites, they might have been leaving these things in veneration of some sort of god or spirit, or at, who knows if they cremated their dead and put them back in the water. Who knows if these were, they believed in portals and crossing points, and a lot of these unique artifacts are found in extremely important crossing areas or places that have extremely dark pools that look like they go forever. And the geology of the Pennypack, I truly believe some of these dark, deep pools open into limestone caves. And I say that because a couple of these holes that I fished in, I could never get bottom. And as long as, as far as I dropped my line down, I couldn't get bottom. And I brought a rope and a weight back, and I couldn't get bottom in some of these holes. Now, the argument is, well, if it hits silt, you're not going to feel bottom. It's just going to coil up in the mud. There's no mud on the line when it came up. Nothing. Just holes that go forever. And Pennypack itself, dark, deep, dead water that flows uphill, or dark, deep, pooling water. There was some sort of great spiritual reverence of this place to find the amount of artifacts, the quality. Somebody wouldn't disregard a piece like that unless they were leaving it as an offering, or it was left behind after a battle or a fight or something. But because in the same area we find pieces of Susquehannock funeral pottery, and even newer stuff that has some glaze on it, that technology wasn't around. Probably 1700s in that area, maybe late 1600s. They came up with a glazing practice, in pottery world. And we find a lot of older pottery that is not glazed, that's just mud or slipware that, didn't have a lot of reusable properties to it when it was first made. But the hair bead and these characters, we can clean them up a little bit better. I did a quick enhancement job on some of these pictures. I mean, this could be a huge breakthrough, even if the glyphs are similar to Mayan characters, which is probably one of the most advanced symbolic and phonaic combinations. So it was both glyphs that had a meaning for the full symbol, but then the actual symbols based on different characteristics were also phonaic. So a lot of people say that the Mayan written language, the Mayan phonaic language, is probably one of the most advanced languages in existence. Now, I originally threw out there because some of the pottery that we found has a little bit of Maya blue in it. So some of their stuff made it up this far. My original suggestion to this is that the Susquehannock, that unknown genetic marker that makes up half of their genetic trace, is unidentified. The other half is Mohawk. And their existence in this area probably right around 1200 AD. So a couple hundred years after the fall of Chakotay, however you want to pronounce the mound cities of the Tennessee Valley. Chakotay, however you want to pronounce that name. I've heard it so many different ways, but it's my belief that if you go back into the oral tradition of the Mohawk people, they say that in their own origin story that they were formed when a people from the west of the Great River traveled over the mountains, the Appalachians, came down through the Susquehanna Valley, met up, and then assimilated with a group of Mohawks, and then broke away, forming their own unique genetic code right around 1050 to 1100 AD. All these times kind of fit together, and it's my belief that the differences we see in the Susquehannock people, whether it be in their metalworking, their pottery styles, and now finding things with, these are individual characters on the back, not different than any other language's alphabet. To find this could absolutely be game-changing. To say that these Native American groups had a symbolic language, a written language, that we discredited, discounted, or overlooked for all this time would be huge. The Mound City in Tennessee Valley, Great Mound Cities, were the largest cities in the world at the time. Not just for Meso-America, but they were bigger. They were 3 times bigger than London at the same time. Bigger than your biggest cities. more populated, more advanced, better societally structured and governed. Not to mention all these mounds are celestially aligned to different star groupings, different constellations, and they were probably used, as we see across, this time frame when agricultural took over. They were probably extremely important ceremonies based around planting, harvesting, solstices, and these effigies, these memorials, these buildings, these mounds, these pyramids marked out important things in the sky, which was so important to livelihood, especially to an early planting, cultivating society that needs to know when to plant, when to pull. And the belief is that these mound areas, sat on top of these mounds, were the homes of the high priests. And something happened where the controlling force is, the kings or the leaders, these chosen higher class of people, whether they be bigger in size, giants, or whatever you want to say, this ruling dynasty or ruling class eventually lost favor. And I believe it was probably because of natural disaster of some sort, probably droughts, could have been earthquakes, flooding, who knows. But anyway, the power structure broke down, and it was civil unrest caused by some uncontrollable natural event. Most likely drought, because like I said, the downfall of the great mound cities at Kahota, and they fell around the same time as the Mayan civilization fell. And then the shattered remnants broke away and migrated, and some of them met factions of the Iroquois and made their own new clans and new tribes that became their unique people. And one of these is Susquehannock. But to find one of these beads, and I can't attribute it to the Susquehannock, but I kind of want to, because of the context in which it was found. Now, I was not present. I was not the discoverer of this find, and it is not in my personal collection. One of my best friends goes to the same sites and takes her family and her little ones out rock hunting. And one of the mothers of one of the little ones found this and took it to Dean, my friend. We'll leave her name out of it, just for, She brought it to my attention, and I went over and I filmed it, took pictures of it, examined it, and we put it back in plastic, and it's kept out of the light because the porous nature of soapstone, it likes to pick up and transfer a lot of oils from your hands and things. So now this piece does have a glaze or a paint, a white painting on it, and it's because it's a piece of jewelry. It was significant, and being a hair pipe, a known Native American bead style, an artifact, it makes it easier to figure out when and where and who. But the most fascinating thing about this piece, again, is it has the potential to rewrite history. If we can derive some sort of phonetic language out of this hair bead, it's something very, very valuable. What do we do with it? We usually put our names on it. We put our contact information on it. We put some identifier as to whose this is in case we lose it on it. Perhaps that's what this is. But whatever it is, you don't carve these unique symbols on something if it doesn't have a greater meaning, such as language. So stay tuned, but I would love to absolutely be one of the forerunners to help prove an early Native American language, whether it be derivative from the Mayans, whether it be more glyphic in nature, it would still give evidence that this culture had a written subtext in which they fell upon. And if you think about it, it is extremely hard to organize a city that is more successful and larger than London at the time without a written language, without an economic structure, without societal bearing and a class system. It'd be extremely difficult. How do you know how much to pay somebody if you can't write it down? How do you know where to meet for work if you can't write a schedule out? Think about all of the things that written language does and symbolic language does. And to think that a society this advanced and organized had none of that is just completely naive. And I have found this symbolic doodling on other artifacts in my collection, and it's very hard to decipher. And there's that effect that that optical effect. If you stare into the sky long enough or into bushes long enough, your mind will start trying to make logical sense of the different lines and patterns you're seeing, and you'll see things like faces or writing in it where there is none. Pareidolia? I forget the exact term for that, but it's a very common, normal phenomena that happens, and that just shows you that our brain is really doing the seeing. Our eyes are just lenses taking in information. Our brains are trying to make sense of it, and you can't get lost in this. But this is not that. This is distinctly carved, and it's been faded and worn over time, and that's why I put it under some filters. But please enjoy. Please subscribe to Happy Lost Souls. YouTube channel subscriptions are up. They help so much. Like or dislike, comment, do whatever. Love you all. Stay safe. If you want to help the channel at all, you can Cash App Ron Jr. 27. It's the hashtag handle. I'll put a little QR code up at the end. If you donate $5 or more, even if it's over multiple donations, you will be sent a nifty, one-of-a-kind art prints from one of my pieces with a special code on it that will later be used to pick a winner on some prizes given out to help try to promote the channel. Right now, the channel is unfunded, and it takes a lot of time and effort to put content up, and it's hard. And it's what you love to do, but when you're not making any money at it, it's very, very difficult to put the quality and the time in it that you really want to for the viewers. I just appreciate anybody's time who watches or subscribes, and if you're a person that donates to my Cash App, that is awesome. And once the Patreon is set up, once everything becomes a little bit more well established, then it'll come to bear. But yeah, if you're an early donator, you'll have a special place in my heart, and I couldn't appreciate it more. It would go to a good cause. There's testing I want to get done. There's things I want to get done that involve the collection, that involve the channel, that I just can't do under my normal time budgets and my normal monetary budgets. And I just really like to get the info out because I'm fascinated in it, and I love the response of others. And just because I can't get back to you right away, or I might get back to you months after you comment, just know that it takes every last minute of my time to get videos up, let alone sit there and be able to read through all the comments. The fact that people are commenting and talking, the fact that people are subscribing, the fact that the channel went from 20 subscribers to over 200 just based on artifact videos. When I started posting artifact videos instead of just my music, the channel really started taking off in the last year. It showed me there's a huge interest out there, and I've always been a reader of Graham Hancock. That there was this ancient, advanced culture that was wiped out by some, disaster 13,000 years ago. I believe all that. I believe all that is in the geology. And I also believe that there is a lot more going on in America than archaeologically than 13,000 years. You're telling me that people only go back 13,000 years, and I can pull out handfuls of stuff in my collection that is easily 10,000 years older. The majority of it is older than 13,000 years. So, but this particular bead probably dates back right at the turn of the BC to AD, right at the turn of time there. This artifact is like older than Paleo-Indian. It's like Paleo-woodland time period more so. But the fact that there's some sort of symbolic, glyphic symbolism on it that could be, a piece of the written language that is lost, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Stay tuned. Please subscribe. Love you all. Stay safe. Happy lost souls.